Hey everyone, here's a quick video on how to get an A+ on your MLA formatting. These are just the basics of what I'm looking for in your turned in essays. Keep in mind that this is just for all of my classes, 8th and 7th grade. So just take note if Mr. Blake, me, is asking you to do anything very specific for your particular assignment, follow those directions, but let's get started with the basics. Number one, anytime you're working with Google Docs or any Google Suite product, Google Slides, Google Sheets, etc., it's always a very good idea to make sure that you're adding your name to the actual title of the document. That helps me to see it as soon as you turn it in. I know it's your paper. Additionally, if you were to lose this somehow in your drive, making sure that your name is on it is very helpful as well. Let's take a look at the actual essay. It's just a bunch of gibberish. You don't really need to read it. That's not important. But what we do need is on the very top left corner, we need to put some publication information. So we need your full name. Man, I cannot spell my last name today. So your full name, first and last. The second thing that you need is your teacher's name. So for my class, Mr. Blake, but ninth grade, it'll be Mr. Rawson. Whoever teacher it is, use their name. The third thing you need in the publication information is what class you're writing it for, literature, composition. You can also put your class period, whether that's 2, 3, or 5, 6, or 7, 8. I will ask that you actually write out literature and composition and not lit comp. This is a professionally done paper. I'm asking for professional standards, and so I'll ask you to type it fully. The last thing that you need to do is you need to write the date that you're publishing it. Now, this is very specific, and I'm very nitpicky about this. If you start a paper on December 1st, that's not the publication date. The publication date is the day you turn it in. If you're going to turn a paper in on December 3rd, you'll put 3. We start with the day, not the month, then the month, so day, month, and then year. That might seem kind of strange, but the reason we do it that way is we go the smallest increment of time, which is the day, then the month, which is the next biggest increment of time, and then the year. Day, month, year, which is how dates are written in most other parts of the world, but the United States is just like, nah, I'm doing my own thing. Next thing we need to do is add a title. So we're going to go to the line underneath the date. We have the date typed there. Next line underneath, we'll click center alignment, and we're going to put in creative title. Now, please don't just name your thing creative title. Please give it something actually creative. My gibberish essay is all about weird smells. So I'm just going to be sensational smells. Sometimes using an alliteration, which is the repetition of consonant sounds, is really helpful. Totally tabular Tide Pods, right? Something to just like capture the attention of your audience. All right, now that we have the publication information at the top left, your name, teacher name, class name, and date, and we've got a title, now we need to start formatting some other things. In MLA, teachers are going to be asking you to add a header on the top right corner of your paper. It's kind of a complicated process if you don't follow these steps. So here's what you do. Step 1, on the top left of your paper, there's a button that says Insert. We'll click that. A drop-down menu appears, and we're going to go down to page numbers. And I know it's kind of confusing because I want us to add a header, but don't click header, click page numbers. We'll go to this first option here where it has the little 1 and the little 2. What that indicates is that the numbers start on the first page, and we have them in the top right corner is where we want them. This option would be if you wanted a cover page with no number, but that's not what we're looking for. So we just click this first option here on the top left corner. Automatically, a little 1 is going to appear with your cursor on the right side of it. We need to move your cursor to the left side of it because now we can actually add your header, which is simply your last name. What this is also going to do is to make sure that on every single page, your last name appears and the correct page number also appears. If you open up the header and you physically type 1 in, what that's going to do is it's going to repeat the number 1 on every single page. So again, here's how you go through that process of inserting a page number correctly. You go up to insert, down to page numbers, and that first option right there is going to get you what you need. Let's talk about fonts, and let's talk about fonts in the header specifically. I'm going to highlight this whole thing because MLA mandates that we use Times New Roman size 12 font. Your header will not automatically change if you change the font in the body of your essay. So you have to physically change, or I guess manually change the font in the header. If you click the header, this little line appears and you won't be able to edit anything else. Please make sure that the only thing in your header is your last name and the page number. And when you're done with it, click underneath it anywhere. That little line disappears and indicates to you that you can work on other things. Speaking of text, I'm going to hit Command A to highlight everything in my essay. And I'm going to change it to Times New Roman, font size 12. There's several other things that we want to do while we have everything highlighted. We also need to make sure that this is a double-spaced essay. So for that, we're going to go to Format. Again, that's kind of on the top left. We're going to come down here to line spacing. My Google Docs are typically saved as 1.15 spacing. We are going to want double spacing to meet the MLA format requirements. So at this point, I have added the publication information, my name, teacher name, class name, date. I've added a good title. I've added a header and a page number. I've also changed the font of everything in my essay to Times New Roman, size 12. And I've also double spaced everything that I need. Something else that you need to make sure that you're doing is in the actual body of your essay, we want it to be left aligned. We do not want it to be center aligned. That's for poetry and titles. We don't want it to be right aligned, and we don't want it to be a full alignment. We want it to be a left alignment. This is a good place to make sure that all of your paragraphs are indented correctly. That's something that we look for in MLA. So at this point, we've got the publication information, we've got the header and the page number, we've got a title, we've got a double spaced. I have an additional space right here, which I'm going to delete. You don't need extra space here between the date and the title. There's no extra line. You do not need an extra line in between the title and the beginning of your essay. The next step is we need to add a Works Cited page. If I'm asking you to do any kind of research, whether that's getting quotes from a book or getting quotes from an online source, you need a Works Cited page so you don't get an F for plagiarism. Here's how we do that. Put your cursor on the very last space of your essay. So if you hold your cursor far to the right side of your last line, you'll know you're at the very end. Then we're going to go up to the top left and click Insert. And we're going to insert a page break. So go down to break and then this pop-out menu page break, which is going to take us to the second page. And just so you can see, even though I just added this page, the header and page number will automatically fill in. And that's why we need to do it so specifically, as I indicated earlier. Now, on the Works Cited page, we need to add a title that this is the Works Cited. So we go to Center Alignment. We type in Works Cited. Once you have that title, hit Enter. And we want to make sure that we're going back to a left alignment. Now, for Works Cited, we're looking for a lot of specific information so that your audience can find your sources should they want to. If you have an excellent quote from a book and I want to read it, I should be able to locate that book based off of the information you provide in the Works Cited. The same is true for online sources. And that is why the Works Cited is so important. We have to prove where we got the information from. Let's talk about books. When you are citing a book for my class, what I want you to start with is the author's last name and then the author's first name. Period. After that, we have the title of the book. Period. After that, what we need is the publication location. And we need the publisher and the publication date. Now, as long as we have those elements, I'm going to be happy. Later in your academic career, you might need more information, but as 8th and 7th graders, I'm not too worried about it. But Mr. Blake, where do we find that information? Open up your books. Typically, like if you're using this copy of Animal Farm, it takes a couple pages to get to where we need it. Typically after the little title page, right? Let me see if I can change my light to make that better. After the little title page, all of this information right here is what you need. Now, obviously, that's a ton of information. What we're really going to be looking for is the stuff right at the tip top. And I know you can't really see it, but I'm just showing you. This is like right here is typically where you want to look. Because right where my finger's pointing, it says that this was published by Signet Classics, Penguin Group, published in New York, New York. And published in the year tends to be a little bit lower, 1996. So using that information, I can go ahead and say Orwell, George, Animal Farm. It was published in New York. The company was Signet Classics. And it was published in 1996. That's literally all I want you to do for books. Author's last name, first name, title, where was it published, what company published it, and when was it published. That's all I'm looking for right now. Online sources are similar, kind of different sometimes. If possible, you also want to start with your author's last, comma, author's first name. If you are using a website that does not include an author's name, no worries, just ignore it. I'll say that again. If you're using a website that does not include an author's name, just ignore it. What you need to start with then is quotes, the title of the web page. Now, to be specific, that's not the website, that's the web page. For example, if I'm researching on the Associated Press, which is my favorite news article source, the website is the Associated Press. The web page would be the title of the specific article. So you would have the author's last, author's first, title of the web page, and then the title of website, comma, publication date. And you need the access date. Now, the reason that you have to be specific about the access date is that websites can be easily changed and edited. So, for example, if I am quoting an article and I quote it from December 3rd, but then the author of the article makes some drastic changes to that article on December 5th, I have to make sure that I tell my audience that the version of the article that I'm using is from December 3rd. We will also still use the day, month, year for all of these works cited dates, including the book publication. Now, I'm going to put in parentheses, if needed, end parentheses, you can include the URL. Now, in my opinion, you really only need the URL in case you do not have enough information to help me find it. If there's no author, if you can't find the publication date, then put the URL. Here's an example. I've been reading a lot about a strange structure that's been showing up in Utah called a monolith. This article was written by Whitehurst, Lindsay, and let me copy the title. Yeah, save yourself some work. As much copying and pasting you can do, that's very helpful. Okay, so I'm going to hit paste. That's not where I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be here. Now, again, that was posted on the Associated Press, and it was published on the 2nd December 2020. And I accessed it on the 3rd of December, not 2020. That's all I need for right now. Now, something that you do need to change, or maybe I'll just say bonus points if you do change it, is we need to make a more specific type of indentation. Typically, you want the first line of a paragraph to be indented in. You don't want that for a works cited entry. Why? Who knows? The powers that be have decided. So highlight all of these. Before you do that, make sure that you've deleted all the existing indentations. Then we go up to format. Nope, just kidding. We go to, nope, we do go to format. Yep, sorry. You go to format, go down to align and indent on that little pop-up menu, indentation options. And the special indent, we want hanging, which I know sounds weird. It should automatically apply with 0.5. Go ahead and apply that. Boom, you see how we just added a little indentation on the second line of this? That's what we want. I know it's strange, but that is what we want. The next thing that we need to do is alphabetize this. So author A, obviously that's the beginning. Even if you have entries that are very similar, right? Author, author, last, last, author, author, first, first, title, title, of. Oh, and then here's our alphabetical difference, book versus web page. So I'm just going to highlight and copy and then delete that entry so that I can re-add it here where it would correctly be alphabetically. Please do not leave extra spaces between your entries. You want to go ahead and delete those. And now my works cited is complete because I have all the information necessary for my audience to find these sources, and I've also alphabetized them. And I'm just re-looking over to make sure that I don't have anything underlined in red, that I don't have any glaring errors. But I believe that at this point, I am done with my MLA formatting. So please follow along by doing this on your own paper. But thanks for watching.